Hi Rick, my name is Jasleen and this is group 3 giving presentation on 100 popular series on Netflix. This is our social data mining techniques first group assignment with team members Bhumin Shah, Karishma Shah, Mehul Kumar Bhatt and Jasleen. So for this project we use Python to collect the data which is web scraping in task 1, and then we extracted the most popular 100 series on Netflix with their series identity, year of original release, maturity rating, a genre and synopsis, which builds our data model. And further we stored the data in the Azure MS SQL server, and finally we had our web application which managed entries in the database using the CRUD operation. So coming to the roles and responsibilities, I am the business intelligence analyst, in which I was responsible for gathering the information related to the project, where Bhumin Shah is a Python developer. He is responsible for managing back-end components and provided support to front-end developer as well. Where Karishma Shah, she as a data analyst was managing the data storage in the Azure using data model from web scraping. And last but not the least, Mehul Kumar Bhatt, as the developer, he was responsible for taking care of the front-end designing of the application and implementing CRUD operations in the database. So these are the tools and technologies we used in this project. For web scraping, we used Python with Beautiful Soul to extract the data from Netflix and converted it to the .csv format, which is then stored to the cloud server using MS Azure. Lastly, for building the web application, we used ASP.NET Core in the Visual Studio. So this is our basic flow diagram of the project, where the data was first collected using web scraping, and then after creating the data model, the data is then sent to the cloud database, that is Azure, where the data is stored. Further, we created the web application on the popular 100 Netflix series to manage the CRUD applications in the database using ASP.NET Core using Visual Studio. Now Bhumin Shah, our project developer, will continue further with the web scraping. Thank you.
Hi Rick, my name is Bhumin Shah. In my role as a Python developer in this project, I show you data collection by using web scraping in Jupyter Notebook. So here I import the library, import request to read the data from BS4, import Beautiful Soup for a web scraping for a data collection. From CSV, import writer to get the CSV format file. So here I use the two URLs. First is a base URL and second is a title URL. This is our base URL and this is our title URL. So here now I give the variable name nf request.get method to fetch the base URL data. Here Beautiful Soup, I use the HTML parser to get the HTML context. Here I use image tag and the class is a unique identifier name. So here read all the images and we get the data like title name, year, genre, season number and description. So all this information we get it into the CSV format. The file name is netflixdata.csv. It is in a write format. So the all column names here is a title, ID, year, season. Here I fetch the 100 popular series on Netflix. So here I put the request to get the data of each images by using Beautiful Soup, and here we get all data of each images, info, year, season, genre, and now I run this code. So here we can see the code is run, and the one Netflix data file is also create over here. So now code is successfully run. So we can open file over here. Here we can see the top 100 popular web series on Netflix. So now Karisma will continue the presentation. Thank you.
Hello Rick, I'm Karishma Shah. I worked with backend development. So I created SQL database on Microsoft Azure, and I stored all the collected data on our database created. So after performing web scraping, I built this data model. So basically data model is a logical representation of a database. And as you can see here, this is our table with 3 columns, that is field, data type, and description. The very first field is ID, which will be our primary key, and that will uniquely identify each rows, which is of numeric data type and with its description. And these are the fields that we extracted using web scraping. Now I'll show you how I've created Azure database. So this is my, I've logged in with a student account. This is Microsoft Azure portal, and this is the name of my server, that is MySQL Server 2792, and this is the SQL database that I've created, that is Netflix database. So once I've created database on Microsoft Azure, I have called that same instance in SSMS. So this is using same server name, that is MySQL Server 2792. It shows Netflix database, and using task and input data, I have imported flat files to my Netflix database, and once I import that, it will create the table, that is Netflix data. And as you can see here, these are the 100 records that I imported, so 100 fields, and whatever changes I'll be doing in my local machine will be reflected to Azure database as well, because I've connected with the same instance. And if we move to Microsoft Azure again, so this is my database on Azure Cloud. If I click on Query Editor, it will ask for SQL Server authentication. So if I log in here, it will show all the tables. So again, I have my Netflix data here. Let's perform a query, and you can see here, these are the 100 records. So basically what I did is, I was having CSV as an input. I created Azure database. I called that instance in SSMS. I imported data in SSMS, and that same data is reflected here. Now, if I go to Visual Studio, this is our Azure CRUD application that we have created in ASP.NET Core. And if you see here, this is the entity data model that I created, which shows that ID is our primary key, and these are the other fields that we already have mentioned with its data type. And moving to the Server Explorer, this is how I have connected Azure Cloud with ASP.NET. So as you can see here, I have logged in with my student ID, and this is my server name, that is MySQL Server 2792, but here it shows that I haven't logged in yet. So let's connect. So if you see here, it is already connected to MySQL Server, and that same Netflix data is available in ASP.NET. So this is how I created database and imported our CSV file using SSMS, and again I've connected that to Visual Studio. So now Mehul will continue with CRUD operation. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Karishma, for giving such an informative presentation on your part of Azure database and Microsoft SQL Server Management Studio. Hello everyone, my name is Mehul Kumar Bhatt, and I am here to give the remaining portion of my part of this project as a developer. So we'll continue with the Visual Studio with our CRUD application. So here you all can see that we, as previously described by Karishma, we have take help of Azure database, and this is our database on Azure. You can see all the tables here, and as I put the query, you can see the database here, that which I have logged in with my Georgian College ID. So I have connected this with the Visual Studio over here, and here you can see the database of our application. So let's move to the portion of ASP.NET in Visual Studio. For that, first of all, we have created a model with the help of ADO.NET Entity Data Model that you all can see here. We have given all the titles get set function here. ID is our primary key. Then title, show ID, year, seasons, maturity rating, genre, and synopsis. The same titles of this columns. Then we'll move to build the solution by clicking a build solution over here. Visual Studio, that function do in the back end with on their own for all of us. Then we'll move to the next portion of building this application to build the controllers and views. So to build controllers, we have used scaffolding technique with the help of MVC5 controller with views using entity framework. So here you can see the controller portion of our application. Then we'll move to the views of our application. So you'll see here on this page, this is our home page, and the title that we have given to our application, it is the main title, 100 most popular Netflix series to watch right now. We've also given a subheading to our application, which is looking for the best shows on Netflix. Click on the link below, and this is the name of the link that you are going to see in few seconds on our application, which is 100 most popular Netflix series list. So to see this application, we need to debug this. So by clicking here, start debugging, we all lead to my Google Chrome page. So here we are in our application, which is locally hosted here that you can see here, and we are at the home page of our application. So as I mentioned earlier, this is describing our title of 100 most popular Netflix series. You want to check it right now as well. The subheading of looking for the best shows on Netflix, click on the link below. So we'll click on that link. So for any binge watchers on Netflix, you'll get all the necessary information of your favorite shows on Netflix on this page. We have created a list of 100 web series that are popular right now. So if you want to see any detail about your favorite web series, you need to click on details. So you will get all the necessary details, so you can search this particular web series on Netflix with the help of these details. Then we'll again go back to the list, and if you want to edit any of your favorite web series details, we'll try this one. If you click on this tab and change it from 1 to 8 season number, we need to go down and click on the save. So here you can see we have changed to season 8. We'll edit it once again and make our list the same as before. If you want to create a new entry, then you need to create on create new. Let's try to create a new entry with one of my favorite movie, Forrest Gump. We'll give its show ID 800-46375. It is launched in year 1994. It has only one season. It has a maturity of rating of TVMA. It comes in the genre of drama and romance. And we'll put in the synopsis, story reunite with his childhood sweetheart. And we'll click on the create. You can see that a new entry has been created named Forrest Gump, and all the details that we have entered from show ID to genre and the synopsis that we have entered. Then you say that I don't want to see this entry, so you need to click on the delete tab, and it will lead you to the page of are you sure you want to delete this. And if you again click on the delete, it will delete this entry. We'll check again by going to the page. Here you all can see we have deleted successfully that particular entry that we want to make. So here this is our CRUD application of top Netflix web series you want to see right now. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you guys.